Hi, this is TJR. I'm a musician and a music writer.
And my name is Robert Kinsler, and I'm a music writer and a musician.
And so today we're going to talk about country music star Morgan Wallen. Now, we should put a few cards on the table here. Neither of us are really into what's referred to as modern country. I think that's pretty safe to say with both of us.
I agree. Yeah, exactly. We're more, I would say both of us are more kind of in the country, classic country like Johnny Clash, or the more contemporary
If it
Americana,
comes
I
to
would
country,
say.
we're more into
Yeah.
the classic old school country, or we are into the more modern Americana music.
Like we're huge Jayhawks fans, for
Yeah,
example.
but we tend to be more into the rock and pop side of things, just so that people understand where we're coming from, in case they're new to this channel and they just thought, well, what are these guys talking about in
Mhm.
regards to Morgan Wallen? Because some country music fans might be clicking on this video. But at any rate, though, Morgan Wallen was definitely a rising star. I understand he was extremely well reviewed.
Yeah, exactly. And I myself, and I do have a review of his latest album, the huge one, what his sophomore double album that
Mhm.
came out. It's for contemporary country, very good, and a solid songwriter, solid singer, and you know, like you put it so well, definitely a rising star in country music.
Yeah. And after you told me you had listened to some of it and that you thought it was very good, I went and listened to some of it too as well. And I thought some of the songs were actually really quite good. A few I was on the fence on, a few I didn't care for.
Mhm.
But I thought it was better than a lot of the modern country that I normally get exposed to.
And I would concur with that. I mean, uh, as we've talked about previously on the channel, for most years that they've had the Stagecoach Festival, and also when I was writing for the Orange County Register, I often was assigned to go cover, contemporary country artists, and it would run the gamut from those that I thought were very good to those that I was kind of indifferent about. I would say, Morgan Wallen, I would say he rates, in the upper end as far as singer songwriters that I've heard in recent years when we're talking about contemporary country.
Now, we're just going to talk a little bit about this controversy that occurred a couple of weeks ago. And of course, unless you're living under a rock, it was back on February 2nd of this month. And I should mention right now that as we record this, by the way, today is February 15th. And so please take note of that. If maybe you're clicking on this video a month from now, or 6 months from now, or a year from now, and there have been develops that have happened since this video was made, please bear that in mind before you say something dumb in the comments.
This is a snapshot in time.
Exactly. So Morgan Wallen was returning home on February 2nd, 2021, and he had been out with some friends. They were parked in front of his place. They were being loud. They were honking their horns. They were clearly drunk. Morgan Wallen walked up his driveway and he hurled out a racial slur. Many people refer to it as the N-word,
Mhm.
along with some other profanities. And, his neighbors were rightfully pissed off and they started videotaping everything. And of course, he hurled out this racial slur and it wound up on TMZ. And of course, then, went all over the internet. The response to this, of course, was quite swift.
Right.
A lot happened to him immediately. His record label kind of said he's suspended,
Mhm.
indefinitely. Um, a lot of the major a lot of the major players in radio basically cut him off, took him
Mhm.
off playlists.
Right.
Streaming services cut him off. Although today I did notice, I looked at Tidal, I looked at Spotify, he's there. His albums
Oh,
are
he
back.
is. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. So, but he was being loud, and his friends, they were being loud and clearly not showing much empathy for their neighbors in the middle of the night,
Right.
clearly being rude.
Mhm.
And of course, then he shoots his mouth up and yells out this racial slur. Um, so, you know, first of all, we want to tell you that we're not here to tell you what to think,
Mhm.
but we are going to discuss our thoughts on this, and we hope you'll join the discussion too in the comments.
Exactly.
Um, being drunk, of course, is not an excuse for one using racial slurs. I think we both can agree on that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's also not an excuse for being rude and inconsiderate to your neighbors in the middle of the night either.
Mhm.
That's
Well,
just,
and let me interject a very quick story here,
yeah.
and this is not to minimize at all what happened here. I think we've all done that where somebody will wake you up in the middle of the night. I mean, you live in an apartment, there's a rowdy party going on, then you end up asking, so, and if you're bold like I have been, or maybe not as bold as I should, you ask them to calm down, and depending on if the person's nice or not, they might tell you where to go stick it. So
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, that can be distressing, but exactly like what you're saying. I mean, it's just unfortunate, having seen a little bit of the video like we're talking about here. Kind of sad to see that somebody of a person that obviously is famous, influential, and stuff. Very, very, very sad to see that. Really.
Yeah. But like I said, people sometimes, there are different types of drunks out there, but still, it's no excuse for being that way.
Exactly.
Also, um, days before this video surfaced, he was supposed to be on Saturday Night Live, and he had been pictures of him and video surfaced of him basically partying at a local bar without a mask, interacting and kissing several women. SNL asked him from the show for basically displaying really irresponsible behavior during a pandemic,
Hmm.
and basically sending a wrong kind of message out. And that's part of that's public safety, encouraging public safety and discouraging people who won't encourage public safety. And part of that is just bad for SNL's brand.
Exactly. Yeah.
They did, however, give him another chance a few weeks later and let him come back and appear on the show.
Mhm.
So this shows a certain history of being careless,
Mhm.
being reckless during a pandemic, and not only setting a bad example, but being selfish as well. And so, once again, being drunk, which he probably was in both situations, is no excuse. So, to move on with the timeline here. So, first, after this video surfaced on TMZ, he apologized. And I'm going to go ahead and just read from this was just a statement he made first. He said, "I'm embarrassed and sorry. I used an unacceptable and inappropriate racial slur that I wish I could take back. There are no excuses to use this type of language ever. I want to sincerely apologize for using the word. I promise you better." And I would say, I don't know him or anything.
Mhm.
If I take it on its surface, I'd say that's a good apology.
Mhm.
That's a good apology. I mean, I don't know the person. Maybe when he's sober, he's completely different.
Mhm.
You know, maybe he becomes a different person. I don't know. Maybe he just said it so that he could, get moved past it. Maybe it's insincere. Who knows? We don't know this person.
Yeah. No, we
But I
don't.
would usually when I read things like this, I want to give that person the benefit of the doubt first,
Mhm.
that they mean it before I decide they don't mean it, you know.
Right.
So once again, there was this backlash. His record label's Big Loud, and they said they suspended him indefinitely. How long indefinite means, I don't know.
Yeah.
He was pulled from radio, pulled from streaming. Also, a lot of country music stars spoke out against him too, and said his behavior was deplorable. This statements of "this is not who we are,"
Mhm.
and this started an online exchange on Twitter where some country music stars said, "Yes, this is what we are." They
Mhm.
had made statements that Morgan Wallen had been heard using this slur in the past,
Wow.
and this time he just got caught. And some of them, and I know one who was a female country music artist, a black female country music
Mhm.
artist, said that this is not uncommon. I mean, she
Right.
said, racism, she says, exists within the country music industry. She
And I
said,
bel
I
and I
know because
believe, and I'm sorry I don't know her name. I think I saw that too when we
I
were.
think her name is Mickey Guyton. I think it was.
Exactly, and I
Yeah.
think she was the one that said that, yeah, this is actually a pattern in the industry, but she did say she was not necessarily for the cancel culture, and she was willing to give him another chance,
She
which
did
is
say, yeah, that people need to be given a chance to change, though. She did add
right.
that. Also, another country music artist, Maren Morrison or Morris, I'm not sure. She also said that she has seen these patterns in country music. But two individuals in country music also spoke out. One of them was a fellow CMA New Artist of the Year nominee, Jimmy Allen.
Mhm.
And he tweeted, forgiveness is more powerful than abandonment. Our job as humans is to help each other be the best version of themselves. In addition to Jimmy Allen, another individual, a country music executive, hopefully I can say this name right, Rakia Marshall,
Mhm.
who is the owner of publishing and artist development company Back Blocks Music, has also spoken out with her take on the situation. And there's a picture here that I'll put on screen here that she took with him. This guy has a heart, maybe a little ignorant for sure, makes a lot of mistakes, may need a little extra love and care, has lost his fight with alcohol, but by no means is a racist, has a lot to learn about his missteps, and it's going to take a while. He is not perfect, nor does he get a pass for his reckless behavior, but he does not deserve this, and I'll stand by that. I'm not giving up on him. Hope the world gets to see the person I know in that picture. So two things happened after this. One, his album his album sales
Sales.
skyrocketed, and he also issued a formal video apology.
And I know we've both watched that. It's about 5 minutes. It was posted, I believe, on his official Instagram account. And I was moved by it. He seemed very sincere in it. Talked about, I think he said he had been sober, hadn't had a drink for like 9 days, and he said he realized that wasn't very long, but he also, I guess he had been contacted, I'm assuming by some, social justice or maybe some, Black organizations, and they had reached out to him and he had responded. So hopefully that will be a good two-way exchange, and maybe, like I said, he can learn from that and maybe learn from his mistakes, and not just learn from them, but take them to heart and really try to, improve his behavior, improve as a person going forward. Hopefully this is all going to help him lead to a more positive future for him and how he thinks, and but also for everyone to think about their own bias that they might have as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I watched his video apology too, and it seemed very sincere to me. You could be cynical and say, well, he's just saying this to save his career, if you wanted to be cynical about it. Once again, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt and assume that if they're saying something sincere like this, that they mean it. And it was a very well prepared statement. And he said, I needed time to think about it, process it, make sure I say the right words. And it did come off that way. It came off like these were his words, not words that someone wrote for him, or at the very least suggested try to get these points across. And he put his words to it at the very least.
Yeah.
But it did.
I thought it came off as kind of like, if he had some bullet points there, maybe he had that to make sure he didn't forget anything. But it sounded like he was just speaking. It didn't look like there was a teleprompter. I mean, we don't need to sit there and analyze it that closely. But it seemed like he was just talking from the heart, sincerely, and he was feeling the weight of what's happened. Maybe these other, because like you mentioned, he's been caught in controversies before, nothing like this. But I think it's like this, I'm sure, hit him like a ton of bricks when he realized the effects of what he said, how hurtful and how that's impacted not just people of color, but obviously probably his parents. I understand his father is a minister. And
he said, yeah, I've let my parents down. He said, I've let my son down, he said.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm
sure a lot of people down with this.
Yeah.
A lot of people who depend on him for employment.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so no, I got the same feeling, like he meant it. Of course, people who struggle with demons like alcohol, it's an ongoing battle. That's great that he's been sober for 9 days or so as we record this, but these things take like the other woman who said a moment ago, the one executive there, let me say her name again, Rakia Marshall. She said, these things don't get fixed overnight.
No, they do.
These things take time when you have this type of alcohol problem. And great that he's been sober. James Hetfield of Metallica has been fighting those demons for some time now. He's mostly fought a good battle. He had a moment a while back where he slipped back, and the band said we have to hold up on the tour. This is before COVID and all that, while he recovers again. They're standing behind him during this time, and which I'm glad to see. But yeah, these things are never easy, and so that's it's great that he has said this, and he does make comments about how I'm this better person when I'm sober, and but people can fall and slide back. We have to see what happens.
Yeah.
It's too soon to tell after just a week,
Yeah.
you know,
And I
but
think,
hopefully he's truly
I,
trying.
yeah, exactly. And I think what he does need to do is this period of reflection, and he shouldn't try to bounce back in and try to relaunch his career right away. I think, maybe that's a tendency when you're young and you're fired up. But I think that this is serious, like you're saying. If this wasn't a one-time situation, if it's part of a pattern, then obviously it's an issue, whether it's the alcohol or whether it's something deeper and more sinister than that. It is something he needs to work on. My understanding is he is a Christian, so he needs to probably pray about that, try to overcome that demon, and do that. The other thing I know we wanted to talk about, TJ, is the increase in his sales, because I know as we're taping this today, they just came out with the latest sales chart, and then I think it's for the fifth week in a row. His album, which is called Dangerous, the double album, just so people know,
Mhm.
that still continues to be the number one album, and which is a rare feat in this day and age to have especially in country music, to have an album be number one on the Billboard 200 chart for that long. Do you have any kind of thoughts on that? I mean, is it because of the cancel culture, or is it because more people are discovering his music? Is it a little of both? Do you have any kind of thoughts on that?
Well, it's so weird. Because at first, the first thought is, well, what are they saying? They agree that he should make racial slurs? Is that why they're buying his album? Because they think, racism is good? Is that why? And that's my first knee-jerk reaction. Maybe though also some of it is just because they like, of course, you gotta also think with nuance too. And not just go with your knee-jerk reaction. And that was my first knee-jerk reaction to
Mhm.
it. But then you also have to think that there might be a lot of people who just are fans, they just like him, and they say, hey, he said something stupid, he was dumb, but don't cancel him just for
Mhm.
that. I mean, lots of people say stupid, dumb things, but we don't get caught and have it shown on TV and all that, and
Yeah.
all over the internet. And maybe they're just thinking, give him a chance, and they want to show their support for him. Maybe that's part of it. And maybe there are some people out there who think, hey, great, I'm all for racial slurs. That's great.
Yeah.
That could be out there too. I'm not going to downplay that either. Um, but then there are also people who are they don't like cancel culture,
Mhm.
and so they're just like, I don't care what he said, you know, I don't care if he says the Pope's a pedophile, I'm gonna buy his album just because I hate cancel culture. It's like,
Yeah.
and that's a really bad reason, I think, especially, if someone says something really awful,
Yeah.
because we don't want to downplay what he said. We
No,
don't want to,
exactly.
say we condone it, you know. We don't want to say, in fact, I'm sure we both condemn
Yeah,
that kind of
exactly.
talk.
Oh, of
But
course. Yeah.
something that I will bring up here is that, you and I, we're both a lot older.
Mhm.
We grew up when we grew up as teenagers and whatnot, racial slurs were much more common when
Yeah.
we were growing up.
Yeah, there wasn't sensitivity training and diversity training, like the things almost anyone, if you go to school or if you work for any kind of large company or governmental organization, you have yearly training to realize that it goes beyond, like, okay, I got to watch what I say, I might get caught, like we're saying. It gets more, which I think is important, to you to understand why it's hurtful to other people, and how we can all make the world a better place by trying to, you know, interact and get to understand people that are different than we are, because of
Yeah.
our religious and ethnic differences and all those kind of things. And all that didn't exist when I was growing up and when you were growing up. It just
Yeah,
wasn't
no.
there.
I can remember when we were, even when we were little kids in grade school, there were, if two kids got into a fight, there were chants that the kids would recite. I won't say them here.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
used racial slurs. And I don't even know if as kids, if we even understood what we were saying, but we
Right.
learned it from our parents.
From our parents.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And, but yeah, racial jokes were a lot more common. And there was a time earlier in my life when I didn't think they were that bad of a thing. I used to say, racial jokes aren't that bad, but
Mhm.
I have a totally different opinion on it now. I don't think they're a good thing because
I think when I was little, go ahead. Sorry.
they can subtly in they can subtly they can the moment you start to take away a person's individuality and
Mhm.
stereotype them and put them in like a generalization, you dehumanize them.
Mhm.
And that's why I don't like racial jokes anymore. I used to think, oh, they're okay when I was younger. Everybody tells them, right? It can't be that bad. I'm Mexican. I make racial jokes.
Uh-huh.
Can't be that bad. But no, I don't believe that anymore because they do subtly dehumanize other
Mhm.
groups of people, whether you want to believe it or not. They do, in my
Exactly.
opinion.
I was going to say when I was a little kid, and I'm now again I don't remember, but I remember, and I'm not going to say it because I don't even want to. But there was a these books that you could just probably go in any bookstore, and they were targeted a certain group, and all the jokes in there were about that group. You know,
Yeah,
and
about different
stuff.
racial
You
groups.
probably remember it as well.
Oh yeah, I
And
remember them too. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, you could buy them in mainstream
in
bookstores.
mainstream bookstore. Now you wouldn't see that today. That I think that those would, and not that I'm for, as both big fans of like Fahrenheit 451. I'm not necessarily for banning books per se, but but publishers have a choice whether they want to publish that or not. And those are,
Exactly.
like you said, hurtful, and they don't elevate the world and elevate the discussion at all. So why have them?
Yeah, and
You know,
that's another thing. In regards to like the radio stations dropping him, off the playlist, the streaming services dropping him. Private businesses can decide who they want to work with and who they don't want to work with. Just like a business owner can decide who, like you can put on your business, no shoes, no shirt, no service.
right?
You can decide who you want to do business with if you're a private business owner. And these companies decided, well, if you're going to do this, we're not going to do business. Now, I do think that he's going to come back from this. I do think that, in fact, I've already seen it. Today I went on Tidal, he was there. I looked on
Mhm.
Spotify, he was there. So I think the apology has already gone a long way because he did apologize. Now, if he hadn't apologized, it would be a whole different story,
Right.
whole
I
different
agree.
thing, but he
And
did.
you know what I was thinking today is that, and again, this is just off the top of my head. I'm a music writer, but I'm not involved in as far as organizing concerts or,
Mhm.
I don't cover the concert
You're not in
industry
the music
beyond,
promotion
yeah.
business.
But I was thinking, like if he's obviously worthy of being a headliner based on his popularity and how strong, Dangerous is as far as an album. Maybe when he tours, maybe he brings along some artists that are, you know, like some black artists. He has them open the show or something. Maybe he does duets or something that, and not
Um,
as a simple, not as for as simple symbolism, but maybe he really makes an effort to get to know, you know, people
yeah,
that are, I understand he grew up in a very, very small town in Tennessee. I think I read on Wikipedia under 1,400 people.
wow,
I'm assuming it's a very small town where everyone knew each other. It very well could be, where everyone there is white. I'm just speaking
yeah,
off the top of my head, and forgive me if I'm wrong here,
yeah. We could be
everyone.
wrong.
But but maybe, because of his background and because of the alcoholism, like I said, I appreciate the apology, and I would hope that he would grow and learn from this and be a better person, and reach out and try to be an example of how you can change and become a better person.
Yeah, well, he did say, he said, getting back to his conversation, he was contacted by some, I don't know who the organizations were. That's been kind of kept out of the
Mhm.
the press releases on this, out of the media. But he said, this week I heard firsthand some personal stories from Black people that honestly shook me. And those were the people who reached out to him, the Black
Mhm.
organizations that reached out to him and offered to open up a
Mhm.
dialogue, which once again he accepted, which I think
Mhm.
people need to keep in mind. He did
Yeah.
accept it.
Yeah.
If he hadn't, it'd be a different story, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said they had every right to stomp me on my neck while I was down, but instead, he said in his apology, they held out their hand and
Yeah.
offered me the olive branch, and so he said he was very grateful for that. So
Mhm.
the only another thing I'm just going to say is that, and I'm only going to speak for me here. We
Mhm.
both grew up in a time where, like I said, racial slurs, racial jokes were very common. And most of us here in the world, we do sometimes do dumb and stupid things when we're young, when we're teenagers, when we're in our 20s. We haven't really grown up yet. And,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my lifetime, I've said some horrible things. You know, I've said some horrible things that I would say now are racist, or I said were racist, were homophobic at the time. Things that I'm not
Mhm.
proud of, that I wish I could take back.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes the best way to overcome racism and bigotry is to first recognize it in yourself.
Mhm.
Recognize it where it exists within you, and then you start to see the world in a better way, and you start
Mhm.
to react to it in a better way. And hopefully, if he can acknowledge this is inside of me, I do it, even though I might say I'm not racist. And I'll tell you, that's another thing. As somebody who is, well, I'm Mexican, but as somebody who doesn't sound Mexican, my
Uh-huh.
voice, in certain jobs I've had where I've been on the phone and people just assumed I was not ethnic, that I was white.
Uh-huh.
People would say sometimes the most racist things to me over the phone.
Wow. God,
And
that's
they'd
scary.
always start it with, I'm not racist, but, and then
Uh-huh.
they'd say something terribly, terribly racist to me.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
and
and
one
that
time,
that's something
just
that again,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah. What?
no, I was gonna say, so you've been on the receiving end of really hurtful, hateful, let's be honest, hateful language, and that's unfortunate to hear that.
Well, I've heard it. I've heard it even when it was, I've heard it a couple times when it's been intended for me
Uh-huh.
because the person knows that I'm Mexican, that I'm not white. And I've heard it then,
Yeah.
but I've also heard it from people who don't because they're talking to me on the phone. They
Mhm.
don't realize, they think I'm white because of my voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they've said very racist things to me over the phone. And each and every time, in most cases, it always was started with the sentence, now I'm not racist, but,
Yeah.
and then it would be followed by those Mexicans or those black people or those something. And it would always start to go that way. And
Yeah.
I'd be just like, oh, hearing this. Um, so, you know, what I'm trying to say is, we all say stupid things when we're young. I have.
Mhm.
And I think you have to recognize the racism in yourself to make the world a better place.
Right.
You have to look at yourself first. And so hopefully he can realize, hey, I may have said to myself, oh, you're not racist, but maybe I am a little bit.
Mhm.
Maybe I
Mhm.
need to learn, and maybe it's time for me to change and learn. And that's a whole topic that I'm sure we could talk about another time,
Yeah.
just that whole
Yeah.
topic. But I mean, I don't think he should be canceled for this. I can understand, even the radio station saying, for right now, we're not going to play you.
Yeah.
We're just going to show you, look, and part of it is they have to protect their brand too, because
Yeah.
it's bad press for them.
Mhm.
And it's like, look, if you're going to be this way, then fine. We're not going to play your
Yeah.
records,
Yeah.
his record label saying, okay, you're indefinitely on hiatus right now. I have a feeling they'll come back, but I think he needs to give it a little time,
Yeah.
not try to rush right back in.
Right.
You
And
know,
I agree with that very much.
I
Yeah.
think he needs to spend some time trying to continue to be sober,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know, for a longer period. I think he needs to spend some time doing that. Um, but I did find his music on Tidal and Spotify, which tells me that he's already come back there.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah,
already
I wasn't aware of that. I mean, like I said, I am a reviewer, so I have the album, and I was after this controversy started, then I went and listened to it, and I said, yeah, and I saw the press releases I'd been receiving and all the strong reviews, from the Los Angeles Times and other very notable publications, and I said, yeah, let me give it a listen. And I was, like I said, as someone that is not necessarily impressed by all the contemporary country artists, like we've discussed on previous
Yeah,
occasions.
me
I
too.
think it's very good, and unlike many of them, he actually co-writes many of the good songs on his. Like I said, it's a double disc album, and I think actually Target had a special edition where there was even additional
Mhm.
tracks beyond the 30 on the standard edition I have. So it's very impressive that that this is his sophomore album, and far from a sophomore slump, he came back with really a very good album. But boy, you talk about having your momentum slowed, but it's slowed for a good reason, because obviously, like you said, if he hadn't been caught, maybe he would have just
Kept
continued
right on
to do
going.
it. So it's
And
good. You hopefully it gives him some time to pause, get some very good perspective, and then try to kind of right the ship, so to speak.
yeah, and also if this turns out to be the incident that puts him on a path where he stops the drinking,
Hmm.
then maybe this slowdown, all this backlash he's gotten, which I'm not going to say is not undeserved, I'm glad he got the backlash because he kind of needed that, that wake up call, in my opinion. Clearly, he needed the wake up call. I'm glad he got the backlash. I don't think he deserves it forever. I don't think he should be canceled forever. But sometimes you do need you need to go to the timeout room for a little bit,
Yeah.
Sometimes you need that. But if this sets him to where he says, like to where he stops the drinking, it may very well have saved his life.
Yeah, very
You
much.
know.
And we both know, we've both known people. I know we've thought that have lost their lives because of heavy alcohol abuse. And I
Yeah.
know a major art, and I don't want to pull any other names in it, but a
Yeah.
very major artist that had to have a liver transplant. And he said it was because of all the years, even though he stopped drinking cold turkey many years ago, the damage had already been done. And
So many decades.
alcohol abuse and stuff is, I know it's easy to say, oh, I'm just going to go out with my friends, have a few drinks, but when it goes beyond once in a while and a few drinks, when it's daily or to the point, like he said, he was on hour 72 of a 72-hour binge or something. I think that's in his video apology. That sounds really serious, that you've
Yeah.
been out partying for 70. I don't even know how you stay awake, like that for a few hours, but yeah, it's obviously a serious situation. And like you just said, TJ, I mean, he definitely has some things that he needs to address here.
And yeah, I hope I didn't come off the wrong way when I said, slap on the wrist or anything like that. I think the backlash definitely was a necessary thing.
Mhm.
He definitely needs to be shown that the culture is not going to tolerate this, but at the same time, he should not be canceled forever. And I
Yeah.
agree that forgiveness is more powerful than abandonment. And it sounds to me like he's realized that, like he's seen
Yeah.
that. So I
Yeah,
think,
and I'm strictly on that side. That's why in us doing this video, and also my review is going to run a few days after we
Mhm.
shoot this
Mhm.
this discussion show. But I lead it off with the discussion of the kind of like we're doing here, a little bit of the background. I said in a normal times I would just be doing a review of his album, giving it a very good review. But there's these other things that need to be said because they're important, and I think it's part of a nationwide discussion that's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
And this seems like it's another chapter, unfortunately, in
Yeah.
that's come up.
But hopefully one that ends in a good way. Hopefully
Exactly.
the one that ends in a good way and helps bring people together and helps, remove divide. And it sounds like that's what he wants.
Yeah.
And so that's why I feel this is moving in the right direction. That's why when I hear his apology on the video, I feel hope.
Yeah, exactly. Well said, TJ. I mean, I think everyone should, I think this is a good moment where everyone, hopes the best for him and his future and that he can overcome this, but also that it maybe people that follow him and because he obviously has millions of fans, hopefully we can all grow together and this is a good lesson for everyone.
Yeah, hopefully hopefully if they don't already know the lesson, they learn
Yeah,
it. And
exactly.
so yeah, definitely. But everybody, thank you so much for watching. As always, be sure to click like, click subscribe, smash the bell notification icon so you can know when we release new videos. And Robert, once again, it's good to have you back here.
Hey, it's good to see you. Hey,
Yeah.
it's great to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. And so we're looking forward to doing more videos. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. We hope you all stay safe and healthy. Bye.